Hello, everyone out there. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And I'm here with a fun show. We may have to break this into 2 or 3 parts. I may have underestimated how much stuff I have in this first one. So we will see. I know many of you guys love the long ones, and I'm trying to keep it under control for the new people. Some of you may have noticed on our various social media channels, I put out our first short or reel or whatever you decide to call it on multiple channels, and I'll go over those channels at the end. I'm still working on TikTok. I had a little problem there, but yeah, we'll go over all those channels when we're done. And you can go and subscribe there if you're into that. And I will be posting. I have taken full control of the social media, and I'll be posting that stuff there. So today, what are we going into? Now, many of you are familiar with the vitamin A toxicity issue, which is kind of funny because it seems out on social media, a lot of people have been trying to attack that lately. And they just say, I think Rob Wolf today said it was nothing sauce. It's going to die as a nothing sauce. He also said, for those of you who are sensitive to oxalates, and he wanted to disrespect you too and say that oxalates are also a nothing sauce. So he said vitamin A toxicity and oxalate toxicity were both nothing sauces. I've known Rob since probably 2004 through CrossFit, back in the days when I thought that was good, and then I had to figure out that was a disaster. I figured that out earlier than Rob did. So there may be a pattern here that I'm figuring out things a bit before he does. Anyway, I think Rob's a good guy. I think a lot of people out there who are against the vitamin A toxicity movement and now the copper toxicity movements, their incomes are threatened, whether they like it or not. And they've decided to just say, well, it's kind of like a lot of boomers did. It was good enough for me, so it's good enough for you. And they go, well, if it wasn't a problem for me, it's not a problem for you. Well, these toxins accumulate across generations. So something that wasn't a problem for them could very easily and is a problem for us. This is the reality. It doesn't just go away. So we're going to go over today the evidence of copper accumulating in people, in animals and people, as I like to do. And then if we have time today, we're going to go into the sources of copper toxicity. Some of them you probably don't know about or underestimated or didn't realize, or more importantly, now that you're improving, you will go back and look at these sources and go, oh my goodness, I did all of these, or many of them, and you understand where it came from. When you start finding out how much copper can be out in like the environment that you could be breathing in or soaking in through the water, then yeah, that becomes very interesting. Actually, so you guys, I want to say something about super chats. I'm trying to keep these under 2 hours. So we're probably not going to do much Q&A today. Definitely super chats. Maybe I'll get to them if they're copper related. If you post a super chat and I can't get to it today, we will save it for next week for sure. I take those very seriously. It's just today I'm trying to, if you guys haven't seen it, I don't know if Joe, if you want to, oh, hello, Lisa. If you want to post the reference page, I'll get it too. There we go. So hello, JJ Hempcrete Bear. There is the reference link. Okay. You'll see in there, there's 2 big parts to it. So let me get to that. Why don't we just jump in? First, I will say, copper accumulates in you. And as we'll talk about, the 2 biggest places where it accumulates the most also seem to be the places where us Westerners have the biggest issues, health issues: the liver and the brain. No one's concerned about their brain degenerating these days. And I'm going to tell you that if you folks choose to believe the people out there, the misguided people who will say, oh, there's lots of copper in the brain of neurodegenerative diseases, but the copper's there protectively. And then you'll see things like, obviously, neurodegeneration goes up as people age. And as we'll see, the concentration of copper in the brain in animals and humans goes up as they age. And serum copper levels go up as people age. And it would really be really weird for people to, how people don't feel as good as they age. Oh, serum vitamin A serum retinol goes up as people age too. Those are two very weird coincidences, because if those were good for people, like so many out there say or claim, people should feel better as they age. They don't. No one's going to argue that generally people feel better as they age, as they get more copper and vitamin A in their system. So it's a really tenuous position for them to argue. And then they say, oh, copper's there to protect you. It's not doing its job. It's not doing its job very well. I don't understand how people can. What we're going to go over, I'm going to start into it now. But what we're about to go over, I have no idea how people can look at this. And then they'll try to find like one study of one little area of the brain that has lower copper than others, while they're ignoring all the other places in the brain that are heavily accumulating copper. And for those of you out there who have had improved cognition and better memory and better brain function since you've been doing low vitamin A and low copper, please feel free to comment in the live chat or in the comments below. We have this all the time. And for those of you who don't understand the connection between, for those of you who are into bioavailable copper, I don't have the link on me right here, but we call it the infamous chicken study. Those of you who think copper's only bad if you don't have enough ceruloplasmin, well, a study in chickens showed that when they restricted vitamin A in the chickens' diets, those chickens had more ceruloplasmin. So vitamin A toxicity and copper toxicity are intimately connected. Okay. Oh, Beth Martin says, yes, that's me. Way better brain power overall. This is common, folks. Do people's brain functions get better as they age? Generally, no. But they accumulate more vitamin A and more copper. What a weird coincidence. Oh, LeBrad, they love their copper. Oh, well, for those of you who haven't noticed, chocolate is one of the highest copper sources in most people's diets. And it's extremely addictive. So, oh, Joe, you may want to make sure you're logged into the right. If you have multiple Google accounts, make sure you're logged into the right Google account so you can post as yourself. That might be it. Okay, well, let's just hit on one thing real quick. But yeah, chocolate and copper are intertwined as heavily addicted. People get addicted to toxins, folks. There's plenty, as we're going to go over, there's plenty of copper everywhere for everybody. There's no shortage of copper out there. Everybody's getting plenty of copper. Copper deficiency is considered rare. It's just the leaps of faith and the logical jumps that people try to make with copper. The self-delusion is outrageous. But okay, so let's go over one thing. Fernando Espin asks, is there copper in milk? I don't know. I'm sure there is, because cows eat milk. I mean, cows eat copper foods. Cows eat plants. I'm gonna hit on something right now. This is really important. There is no such thing as a zero vitamin A diet that is healthy for people to live on. There is no such thing as a zero copper diet that is healthy for people to live on. So if you watch this and you decide you're going to take on copper as your new ultimate boogeyman, and you're going to try to eliminate it from all sources in your diet, you're not doing what we propose here. Some of the people who have messed themselves up doing our diet are the people who took things too far, user error, and now they blame us because they decided to try to do a zero vitamin A diet or a zero copper diet, which is something we never proposed. Beef is not zero copper. Beef is not zero vitamin A. Neither is chicken. Okay, but that's the lowest diet that you could get in vitamin A and copper. It would be if you stuck to poultry and red meats, that would be about generally the lowest vitamin A and lowest copper diet you could do that seems to keep people alive just fine. And the all muscle meat carnivores can vouch for this. So anybody who wants to argue that there's copper deficiency everywhere and there's vitamin A deficiency everywhere, you need to talk to the all muscle meat carnivores, not the ones who are eating liver and kidneys. You need to talk to the, first of all, the liver and kidneys and the nose to tail people. They don't last. Find me a 10 to 15 year nose to tail carnivore who's doing it a lot. They don't exist. They quit. They break. Well, they sure have a lot of copper and a lot of vitamin A in their diets. So, Joe's saying my video's freezing up a little bit. Oh, Joe, let me apologize, folks. My old PC tower is nearing the end of its memory run, and I have a new computer that is on its way. It arrives today. So I have been backing up my old computer so that I can do the switch over and have access to all my old live streams and all that old stuff in the old memory banks. But yes, my computer is probably, it might freeze a little bit as we're going. You might have little glitches in the video because it's just full. I had to switch off of my old phone because it was full. I'm switching off of my old computer because it is full. And yeah. Oh, Lisa, I'll hit this real quick. Okay. The Keystone Minerals plus niacin that we got back. So if you guys don't know, actually, why don't I just do this right now? Keystone Minerals plus niacin is back for those of you who were missing it, and organic sun fiber is back. Yay. Now, we had some issues with someone who was helping us with the labels. They were not good at their job. And we accidentally let through the wrong QR code on the Keystone Minerals plus niacin. It goes to the lactoferrin page currently. We are working on fixing that. I've been working on fixing lots of things on our website that we hadn't gotten around to. And we are working on that. Just go to the Keystone Minerals plus niacin product page for now for the nutrition information on it. And then I'm gonna put some stuff on the lactoferrin page because I can't change the QR code until we run another batch of labels. So sorry about that. That was my mistake. I take responsibility for letting that slip through. Here's what happened. I never expected a QR code to be put on Keystone Minerals plus niacin because I hadn't made one to send to the designer yet. I hadn't sent him one. He just put one that he had from other stuff. I was like, after I got done, I was like, how could this happen? How could somebody literally put a QR code from something else on a different product? What kind of job quality does this person do? And then it slipped through my fingers. It's my fault. It slipped. I'm the leader. And I'm glad that person is gone. Because that's there was many mistakes made. So anyway. So copper. Let's get into it. So here is, let me do view and full screen. Okay. Let me make this a little bigger. Okay. Now. Oh, you're welcome, Lisa. But yeah, I apologize for that link. We're gonna fix it. So first, we're gonna go over. People will say, "Oh, copper doesn't get stored in the body. Copper doesn't accumulate." And I'm like, okay, sure. Let's dive into the research. So I'm going to be opening up these links, and I'm going to have to switch between them because I want to keep Joe going. Okay. The paper here, adipocyte-specific disruption of ATPase copper transporting alpha in mice accelerates lipoatrophy. Okay, so they had this genetically modified mouse Now, some people out there, like Jamie Andrews, has been suggesting that they don't genetically modify the mice. They literally just poison them until they damage their genetics enough, and then they have a damaged genetic mice. This sounds more plausible. I don't believe they're in there tweaking genetics, especially after you're seeing how these genetic companies, they send them like reptile DNA, and they come back saying the person was an Ashkenazi Jew. That's a really crazy coincidence that those two things would come up together, but they would say that a reptile was a human. Some of you conspiracy theorists would definitely look into that. That's a very interesting thing. Anyway, so they genetically modified, significantly increased copper concentrations were observed in adipose tissues of ASKO mice compared with control mice. Wait, you mean copper accumulates in fatty tissue? Copper accumulates in fatty tissue. Do we have any problem with people being overweight and obese? What else gets stored in fatty tissue? Vitamin A. Weird. So I just wanted to hit on that. So we have that, yes. Increasing copper concentrations. Let's keep going now. So let me go to the next one. Okay. Here we go. Changes in age, with age in copper and superoxide dismutase levels in brains of C57BL/6J mice. Brain, what is the brain mostly made of? Fat. Okay, these are relatively new mice. Brain copper increased by 45% up to 600 days of age, so not even 2 years old, and appeared to increase slightly from 600 to 900 days of age, maybe because they were full, running out of room to top it up. Okay, so we have brain copper increasing with age. We have fat increasing copper, brain increasing copper. Let's keep going. I didn't highlight this. Sorry about that. Age-dependent increases of brain copper levels. Age-dependent increase of brain copper levels. And expressions of copper. Oh, sorry, Joe. There it is. Got it. Age-dependent increase of brain copper levels and expressions of copper regulatory proteins in the subventricular zone and choroid plexus. So when they say copper regulatory proteins, folks, they mean things that protect you from copper. Things your body makes to protect you from copper, like retinol binding protein is made by your body to protect you from retinol. Didn't I? Oh, I thought hold on. My highlight's not showing up. Let me see if I can get it to show up. Nope. Guess it's not going to do it. So I'll find the stuff again. Our recent data suggest a high accumulation of copper in the subventricular zone along the wall of brain ventricles. So they're talking, it connects with your CSF, your cerebrospinal fluid areas. Okay, we're going to go over how much copper is in the cerebrospinal fluid because it's a lot. Okay, let me find it. Oh, here we go. Analyses by atomic absorption spectroscopy revealed that the subventricular zone? Was that what it was? Subventricular zone, yes. Analyses by atomic absorption spectroscopy revealed that the subventricular zone of adult and old animals contained the highest copper level compared with other tested brain regions. Significantly positive correlations between age and copper levels in subventricular zone and plexus were observed. The subventricular zone copper level of old animals was 7.5 times and 5.8 times higher than those of young and adult rats, respectively. Looks like accumulation of copper to me. So that's what I wanted to hit on that one. That's 7.5 times higher. Can't ignore that one. Now let's go to the And more on the mouse brain. Why? Oh, come on. Come on, Glasp. Oh, I know what it did. I know what it did. Okay. Some of these, they came, so ChatGPT helped me with some of the searching on this, and it changed the link. So now the link is gone. So that's why. That's too bad. Let's see. I will find it as we go. Prior work has shown that in Alzheimer's disease mouse models, the accumulation, there's that word again, accumulation of copper in the brain is associated with the disease's progression. As copper goes up in the brain, Alzheimer's gets worse. Let's see. Let me see if I can find this. Hold on. What is the hold on. I'm going to do this real quick. Let me go. Sorry. I'm going to fix these links because I want all those I want all of those links. I just have to make the link correct again, and then we will have it. That's not the right one. There it is. Dang it. Sorry about this, folks. This will make this take a little longer, but there, it's back. Okay. So let me go find the next one. So, impact of aging on copper isotopic composition in the murine brain, the mouse brain. So let's go. The effect of age on copper concentration. Several studies in the literature have reported an age-related increase in copper levels in various organs. In healthy individuals, it has been observed that copper tends to increase with age in human serum. Let's cover this because all of the copper apologists, all of the copper lovers, the copper crazies, they like to explain that copper problems only happen when people have metabolic problems with processing or protecting themselves with copper. What we are just seeing here is that healthy people are accumulating copper too. It is not just Wilson's disease. We can throw all of that stuff out of the window. Does Wilson's disease people accumulate it faster? Yes. Does that mean that healthy, normal individuals are not accumulating it at all? No, not at all. That's a lie they tell themselves. Okay? However, in cortical tissue affected by Alzheimer's disease, pay attention here. The level of copper is actually decreased. This decrease is believed to be associated with the binding of copper to senile plaques. Your body is binding the copper to these plaques to move it out of the brain so your brain can continue functioning. It's protecting you. It's putting the copper into a plaque. And so you have less in the other tissues so that they could still run. Other studies have shown that copper tends to decrease in salivary sediment and hair samples. Okay. In rats aged 15 to 49 weeks, this was the study I think we just went over, copper level increase in the serum, the blood, kidney, liver, and 5 distinct parts of the brain: cortex, corpus striatum, hippocampus, midbrain plus medulla, and cerebellum. These findings further support the notion of age-dependent changes in copper amounts across different tissue and species. Why don't they say increases generally? But whatever. Okay, so what does copper do in the brain? Furthermore, copper has been shown to activate the secretion of inflammatory products, such as interleukin 6, NO, and TNF-alpha by interacting with microglia. Okay, that seems important. In chronic and acute inflammatory conditions, copper is reported to be at higher concentrations in the brain. In the same conditions, labile copper, I believe they mean free copper floating around, is also found to be at higher concentrations in microglia. Wait, so microglia and copper are interacting, secreting inflammatory products. But then the authors will make sure to say, well, it's the inflammation causing the copper problem, but it's definitely not the copper causing the inflammation problem. But I go a couple sentences above and it all starts to make sense. That's it for that one. Okay. Impact of aging. So let's go. Unveiling the origin of copper accumulation in plasma with aging. Aging is intricately linked to various diseases, including cancers. I have a whole live stream, Joe, you could search for cancer, on how cancers accumulate copper. Cancer is toxicity storage tissue. Cancers accumulate copper. Neurodegenerative disorders and metabolic irregularities, like diabetes. I believe I went over copper in the diabetes episode. Copper overexposure has been found to be linked to many diseases during aging, particularly neurodegenerative diseases. And then you have to remember, they always have to, it's crazy that they did the bad sentence first, because then they have to go into the apologetics. Meanwhile, as an essential element, copper has been implicated in key processes associated with aging. They have to make sure to say it's essential, just like they do with vitamin A, folks. They're going to say balance. They're going to say homeostasis. They're going to say dysregulation. They're going to use all of these words to not call it toxic. And again, this imbalance. This study delves into the mechanisms behind the copper imbalance during aging. This is how they gaslight you. Dysregulation, imbalance, balance, homeostasis. Our findings revealed that aged mice had a higher copper concentrations and an enrichment of light copper isotope in plasma compared to controls. Okay, more copper. Keep seeing more and more copper. Oh, here's the fun one. This will be the fun one. Folks, obesity is associated with copper elevation in serum and tissues. Is there an obesity issue today? See, again, copper misbalance has been linked to fat accumulation in animals and experimental systems. Misbalance, eh? In this study, the copper status of obese individuals was evaluated by measuring their levels of copper and cuproproteins, as in the protective proteins, in serum, adipose, and hepatic tissues. Gosh, those are important, right? But what do they measure? They only measure blood. They don't measure the fat, usually, or the liver. Okay? So what happens in obese people? The analysis of serum trace elements showed significant positive and element-specific correlation between copper and BMI, body mass index, a measure of fatness in large populations, after controlling for gender, age, and ethnicity. So a positive correlation between copper and BMI means as copper goes up in the blood, BMI goes up. People get fatter. Serum copper also positively correlated with leptin, insulin, and the leptin to BMI ratio. Those are not good. So as serum copper went up, leptin went up, insulin went up, and the leptin to BMI ratio went up. When compared to lean controls, obese patients had elevated circulating cuproproteins. They made more proteins, like similar to antibodies and binding proteins, to protect themselves because they have more copper, such as carbazide-sensitive amine oxidase and ceruloplasmin, and higher SSAO activity and copper levels in visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat around your organs, folks. This is the worst fat. So they're finding more fat, and they're finding higher copper levels and higher ceruloplasmin. In obese patients. Obese patients with mild or no steatosis, fatty liver, had higher copper content in the liver compared to lean controls. Interesting. In conclusion, obese patients evaluated in this study had altered copper status. Strong positive correlations of copper levels with BMI and leptin suggest that copper and or cuproproteins, which include ceruloplasmin, may be functionally linked to fat accumulation. Weird. Copper is also, as we say, very estrogenic. It is a metalloestrogen. It stimulates estrogenic activity. Estrogen helps build fat. Does this make sense yet? New evidence on iron, copper accumulation. Iron, copper accumulation, and zinc depletion. Gosh, is there a theme that we've gone over multiple times on this channel? And its correlation with DNA integrity in aging human brain regions. Wait, so what happens in aging human brain regions? Copper accumulation and zinc depletion. They just told you. In this study, we assessed the levels of copper, iron, and zinc in 3 age groups. Group 1 below 40, Group 2 41 to 60, and Group 3 above 61 years in the hippocampus and frontal cortex regions of normal brains. We observed that the levels of copper and iron are significantly elevated, while zinc is significantly depleted as one progresses from Group 1 below 40 to Group 3 over 60, indicating changes with aging in the frontal cortex and hippocampus. What have I told you guys about aging as you get older? As you get older, your detox generally gets slower. Okay, so if your detox got slower, it makes sense that you accumulate toxins. Okay? But the elevation of metals was more in the frontal cortical region compared to the hippocampal region. Okay? There was a clear correlation between copper and iron levels versus strand breaks in aging brain regions. This indicates that genomic instability is progressive with aging, and this will alter the gene expressions. More copper. Let me see. There we go. That's it for that one. Copper went up as people went through the 3 age groups. Do you think their brain function went up as they got more copper? Let's go this one. Oh, wait, this one is not. I need the link to show my. Okay. Influence of age and sex on copper, zinc, and magnesium concentrations in plasma. So that's similar to serum. It's different. I'm not going to explain it right now. Erythrocytes, that's red blood cells, and urine of healthy adults. So plasma copper showed an age-related increase with higher concentrations in women of the first 2 groups, which were 40 subjects, age 19 to 39 years, 37 subjects, age 40 to 59. So it went up from 19 to 39 to 40 to 59. Age-related increase with higher concentrations in women of the first 2 groups. Ladies tend to have more significant copper toxicity, which is what we see, which is what the research says. Oh, and what things do we try to put back into people? Plasma zinc and magnesium were significantly lower in the elderly. What are these patterns we see over and over with disease? But these are healthy adults. They're not sick yet. Okay? Copper's going up in everybody. And let's do this next one. Serum copper, zinc, and copper to zinc ratio in males, the influence of aging. In the elderly subjects above 75 years old, a marked increase in serum copper concentrations and the copper to zinc ratio, as well as a decrease in serum zinc concentrations, was observed. Serum copper concentrations and the copper to zinc ratio correlated positively with age. Oh, sorry, Joe, I missed the Zoom thing. So as men get older, they have more copper, less zinc, and a higher copper to zinc ratio. Again, are people feeling better as they age generally? This is the argument that they would really have to present. The copper lovers would have to argue that copper rising would be good for people, and they can't show that. Oh, wait, let me add on to that link so it works. Okay, now we're going to go over what, first I want you to think about, I've been over the top 10 causes of disease. Actually, let me pull that up. Why don't I do that? Hold on. Joe, don't worry, I'll share. Okay. So let me bring this over so it's right by the thing I'm going over. So before we go down into this list, actually, I'll just show you here. Let's just run through this. The top 10 causes of death in the United States, according to the 2023 data. Okay. I want you to think of the areas of the body that these involve. Okay. Heart disease. Okay. The heart. Cancer. We've already been over how many types of cancer have copper stored in it. Okay. Unintentional injuries. Well, that stroke. Okay. As in the brain, lungs, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes. Diabetes is a liver and pancreas problem. It's not just a pancreas problem. Kidneys, okay? Liver disease and cirrhosis, and then the good old coof, okay? I want you to think of those areas of disease, okay? When we go down and we start going over what are the parts of the body that store, aka accumulate, the most copper? Because wouldn't the areas that accumulate the most copper be the healthiest, according to the copper crazies? Let's go. So this paper doesn't sound like it's going to be going over copper microenvironments in the human body to find patterns of copper adaptation in pathogenic bacteria. Wait, we kind of like, terrain theory ideas around here. Pathogenic bacteria, copper adaptation. That's weird that those go together. So could high copper environments drive more pathogenic bacteria? If you even believe the whole bacteria cause disease thing. Okay. Copper microenvironments where the copper concentrates. So let's go down to where the copper concentrates. Table 1, copper content of human organs, tissues, and bodily fluids. So I want to show you the lower ones first, right? Gut, spleen, lungs, blood, muscles, skin. This is the concentration, and this is the total milligrams of copper for the average 154-pound person. Okay. So I basically only chose anything that was above 4 on these. So 12. So the kidney, high. Liver, high. Brain, high. Heart, high. Skeleton, high. Kidney, liver, brain, heart. Let's go look at that list again. Okay. Kidney, liver, brain, heart. Well, that's weird. Okay. I love this. The nails. Wait, here it is. Your fingernails and your toenails. Look at how much is in there. What are your fingernails really and your toenails good for? Getting rid of stuff. That's one they don't want to be around. You're supposed to wear them off in your real life. Or what do? We cut them. This is detox right here. This is your body trying to get rid of it. Okay. Cerebrospinal fluid. You know how we talked about the subventricular zone before? So your brain fluid and your spinal cord fluid. Well, it's up at a 5. Look how much total is in there. 78. Is that the highest amount in the entire body? Hold on. Oh, no, this bile duct goes higher. Sorry. But let me just look. 78. Is there anything else that beats that? Not even the whole skeleton beats that. Okay. Muscle has one of the lower concentrations, but you have enough, so much muscle on your body that it adds up to the total. This would be like body burden, total body burden. This is concentration. How much is in each piece? Okay. So, wow, you wonder how you get so much copper in the brain? Well, when you're marinating the brain in copper. Okay. In the bile, wow, the bile itself is nearly up as concentrated as the liver. Gallbladder, 1.5 to 7.5. That's 23 to 11. That's pretty high number for the total of your body, considering how little your gallbladder is. Common bile duct carries the bile. 0.3 to 10.5, and from 5 to 160, by far the highest. The bile duct is marinating in the bile. This is why we get the highest amounts there. What is your body's obviously trying to get rid of this. That's why it's pushing it through there. This is toxic bile paradigm. Okay. Let's see. Let's go in here. There we go. And now I just wanted to go over a theoretical paper. Low copper diet as a preventive strategy for Alzheimer's disease. Gosh, imagine if they did, I don't know, a study on a low vitamin A diet for psoriasis and it worked really well. Oh, wait, they did that in 1947 and they never followed it up. It'd be weird if they do, they didn't do it. They did not do this diet in this paper. They talk about it. But they did the low vitamin A diet in 1947. I believe it was the New England Journal of Medicine. Amazing results in 6 months, and they never did it again. They don't want you to get better, folks. Because the general population comes in contact with copper mainly through dietary intake. Oh, you're going to learn about that. Food is 75% and drinking water is 25%. Your drinking water is 25% of your copper intake. Maybe way more. A low copper diet can reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease in individuals with an altered copper metabolism. So see, again, they're going to blame the metabolism. What if you're just slower at detoxing copper than other people? Do you have to have an altered metabolism because of this? Do we say that people who run slower than other people have an altered running metabolism or something like? No, it's just they're slower runners. So, of course, they got to blame genetics because so genetics in terms of like we're talking about, could you be slower at detoxing copper? Sure. Okay, that's fine. What do those people who, let's say if you are a slower runner and you want to win some races or at least place better, you have to train harder. So if you're slow at getting rid of copper, you have to restrict it more or help your body to get rid of it faster. Doesn't this just make sense? Just because what's the saying? No one cares, work harder. No one cares, work harder. If you have slow detox processes, I'm not trying to say that I'm here because I care about this and I care about helping people. But what I'm saying is if your detox for whatever reason sucks or is slow, it doesn't matter. You simply have to adjust to it, okay? You can still get better. You can still be happier and healthier. You may have to work harder at it. I can't help that. You can blame your parents. You can blame your grandparents. You can blame that you grew up next to an industrial tower, whatever. It doesn't matter. You are here now. We fix it from here. That's it. No one cares, work harder. I actually added 2 words to the end of that, step up. So I like adding that to the end of that saying. No one cares, work harder, step up. That's what has to happen. And I'm not a motivational speaker by any means. And these are the things that I use for myself. The other one I like is improvise, adapt, overcome. That was in Hamburger Hill and that stuff. I love that saying. So, of course, we suggest that a diet gene interplay is the basis of the copper phenotype of sporadic Alzheimer's disease. Okay, sporadic Alzheimer's disease. It happens here and there. It happens here and there. Oh, wait, you mean like one of the top 10 causes of disease? It happens here and there. They are protecting themselves. You ever notice that the amount of copper is not usually mentioned on nutrition facts? You know why they do that? Because when they know that Americans are not deficient in something, they don't mention it anymore. You know, they took vitamin A off the nutrition facts. Companies don't have to put it anymore. Okay, so let me click on this. We're at an hour in. Joe, you can take off the screen share. I told Joe today may go long. That was the evidence of accumulation in all sorts of tissues in humans. I don't know. Okay. Let's see if we can hit the first half of the sources. And then maybe next week we'll be finishing the sources, and then we will go over the symptoms of copper toxicity as noted in the research and in real people talking on the internet. So maybe we'll just do half of it today. So for those of you who came here who are copper lovers, copper crazies, addicted to your chocolate, whatever, if you just saw all of that I went through and you want to continue to deny that you're purposely putting too much copper in you, whether you're a root cause person or whether you're a revolution person, literally taking copper sulfate, the algicide and pesticide, literally taking multiple milligrams and milligrams of it a day. And you can, I want you to understand something. We talk about this all the time, the duration paradox, which is where you can use something toxic to suppress detox and feel better for a while until the bottom falls out. And it will. Ask all the people in our live chat and in our comments. The bottom fell out. Maybe they felt better on it at the start. Oh, I started taking liver and I had so much energy. Copper's a very stimulating toxic mineral. Oh, I had more energy. Yeah, some people now, when they're copper toxic, they can't fall asleep because they got too much energy from this toxic metal. Okay? So, I don't care if people feel better from taking something. That doesn't mean it's good for you. Literally taking copper sulfate is the most toxic pesticide out there for your brain. I'm going to go over that. It's in the literature. You're literally taking blue oxidized copper with sulfur in it. When you take something toxic like copper, I need you to understand this. It slows down your detox of copper. Okay? How do I know this? Well, one of the most obvious things that I've seen was early on when I was doing my investigation and my reverse engineering of hair testing. And I wanted to see what happened. And back then, I still believed that copper was good for us. So what did I do? I saw in my hair test that my copper wasn't as high as I wanted it to be. Neither was my manganese. Nowadays, I would never, ever in a million years supplement anybody with that or even tell them to try to increase it in their diet. And so I started taking supplements of copper and manganese. And I was testing my hair every 4 to 5 weeks back then because I wanted to see these quick changes. And I used to have, my short hair, so it was easy to do. Guess what happened the first hair test after I started it? Copper and manganese both went down. I thought, that's interesting. So then I went and I doubled. I took 2 pills of each. Did my hair test 4 to 5 weeks later. Lo and behold, my copper and manganese went down further. I believe I had the record for the lowest copper and manganese that I'd ever seen on a hair test when I was taking 2 pills of copper sulfate and whatever the manganese form was a day. Hair is one of your detox routes. I was taking copper and manganese, and my copper and manganese showing up in my hair was going down. What I'm literally telling you is taking a toxin will slow down your detox of that toxin over time, especially. So then what did I do? I was taking more copper and more manganese than anybody else I'd had doing it, because I experiment on myself first, because I love you guys, and I'm not going to have you guys experimenting for me. This is what good scientists do. They experiment on themselves. I'm in the middle of an experiment right now that is going amazingly well. I can't share it with anybody. Only Kelsey gets to know. And even she was like, I'm not sure about this. And I said, I got to do it. Science. So anyway, I thought 2 pills a day of each slowed it. First, it slowed it down. Then it slowed it down further. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? Or if you want to change something, you got to change something. So was I going to take even more? No. I stopped taking it. And then the next 4 or 5 weeks later, both of those levels came up, and I went, okay, we just figured out something. I didn't know what it meant back then. Now I do. So you can literally, and as we're going to see, I'm going to show you in these papers, like women with an IUD in them, a copper IUD, their blood copper doesn't go up very much. They literally have a copper wire in their cervix. They are absorbing copper from that all the time. Your body will keep your blood levels fairly stable as much as it can. So then what does this say about all these women and men in these studies whose copper is going up over time? You can break the system over time is what it says. You take enough, it's going to spill over. There's so much in the tissues, what is it, 7.5 times higher? It's going to spill into the plasma and the serum over time, the blood. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's go. Joe, in 34 minutes, let's try to wrap this up in 34 minutes. So, okay, so here we're going to go into drinking water. Ooh, JDS said, I remember drinking niacin out of a copper cup when I was peeing. Messed me up. Okay, acidity, folks, acidity frees up more copper. Doesn't matter that it was nicotinic acid. Acidity frees up more copper. And for you guys who are like, you don't think you're absorbing that much copper from like copper cups or whatever, if you've never had a Moscow Mule, which is a drink, a vodka drink, it's a vodka, right? It's a vodka drink with ginger ale or ginger beer that is specifically made in a copper cup. You can taste the copper. You guys have ever drank out of a copper bottle? You can taste the copper. You are literally putting enough copper in it that your body can taste it. You are poisoning yourself. But yeah, peeing is one way to mess yourself up with multiple angles at once. I think they mess themselves up from so many angles that they don't always figure out what did it in the end. But I'm a recovered peeter. JDS is obviously a recovering peeter. We help fix peeter. So if you're a peeter out there watching this and you're poisoning yourself with vitamin A and copper and progesterone and all of this stuff, just know that when you realize you're broken and you're not going to get better, and you've been doing this for months or a year or two, and you're getting worse and worse, and it's not taking more and more thyroid isn't going to fix you, we're here for you. We can help fix this. This is what we do. So let's get into copper in drinking water. This is one of the, for those of you who don't know, this is one of the first things that I mention in the Love Your Liver program to do, is to get the copper out of your drinking water. How do we do this? You may not be able to get all of it out. However, what you can do is, I gotta hold on. I gotta get the, I deleted the window that had my, that have my little cheat thing to copy and paste. There we go. I'm just going to leave this up now. Okay. There we go. Live, live stuff. Where was I? What was I talking about? Joe, you remember what I was talking about? I lost my train of thought. I saw that you set the countdown timer. No, Joe doesn't remember either. Oh, so it was getting rid of the copper in your water. Okay, first, folks, you guys know I like reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis removes the minerals from the water, good and bad. Okay, that's why I like it. I would much rather remove the bad minerals and also remove the good minerals as like collateral damage, friendly fire, and then I can put the good minerals back in, as opposed to, like, here in Tucson, there's literally uranium and arsenic in the water, and then there would be whatever came into my water from the copper pipes. I talk about this in the Grant Genereux Substack series I have about how, Canadia's water, right, is pretty damn toxic, lead and pharmaceuticals and all that stuff. And so I even use a Canadian water article here. Here's the reality. Copper water pipes. First of all, reverse osmosing your entire house, reverse osmosing, that's a new verb, is too expensive. And the ones that are big waste tons of water. I forget if they waste 4 gallons for every 1 gallon you get, or if it was actually, I think the guy told me 8 gallons wasted for every gallon you get. Do not do a whole home reverse osmosis system. The other thing about reverse osmosis systems is literally minerals are generally alkaline. If you remove all the minerals from your water, the water from wherever it started will tend to become a little more acidic. Okay. The AquaTru, AQUATRU.com, the filters that the RO filters that they have, they state that it does not reduce the pH of the water. It does not make the water more acidic. So it is what I highly recommend. Yes, it's a pain in the butt. You got to fill up the tank, put it on there, wait for it to filter, and you got to do that. I think it holds a gallon or something. You only waste so out of a gallon of water, you only waste 1/4 of a gallon. So you get 3 times as much water out as the water you lose, which is a really good ratio. I had a guy come here who I talked to him about the whole house reverse osmosis, and he's like, don't, it's too expensive. You waste so much water. And I was like, wow, I appreciate that. And then I told him about the countertop system we had, and he was like, wow, that's really good in terms of the ratio. So anyway, reverse osmosis, like the AquaTru countertop, and no, I don't have an affiliate with them. They don't want to give me an affiliate for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, I talk about them all the time, but a reverse osmosis system will take out all the copper from your drinking water. Now, your shower. The only filter I've seen that makes a claim, like a legitimate testable claim to reducing copper in the water, is the Aqua Youth 2.0 shower filter. It goes right on your shower. And it's said to take, I think all the toxic metals out. It takes out a lot of the iron, takes out 30% of the copper. That's what I do at my house. So that's that. So let's go into this then. Copper in drinking water. This is literally from, I think, I don't remember who did this. Anyway, let me go find the quotes. Just wanted to hit on this. Drinking corrosive waters, which would mean acidic waters, or corrosive for other reasons, held in copper plumbing can result in copper excess. And the potential for copper toxicity is a concern in that case. We're going to talk about this again a little later. Folks, when your water sits in the copper pipes overnight, it soaks up more copper. It'd just be like if you left water in a copper water bottle longer, it will soak up more copper. The hotter, okay, so let's go over these things. What increases the copper in your water if you're not filtering it? The water sitting, stagnant, okay? So what I don't remember how long it was to run your water, but if you run your water for the first time in the morning, running the water will help get rid of a lot of that stagnant water copper, okay? heat will cause more copper to leach into the water. This is why it'd be really important to have a shower filter. Okay? And then acidity. Acidity will leach more copper out of the copper pipes. So if you know you have acidic water, if you have I don't know where the water softener would be in terms of most of the copper water pipes. I'm not a water expert, but what I'm saying is the less stagnant your water, the less hot your water, the less acidic your water, the less copper will be in it. So we can look at that the other way. The more the water's been sitting longer, the hotter the temperature, the more acidic the water, and the more pipes you have in your house, the more copper is going to be in it. Okay? So let's head into this one. Okay, literally, the title of this paper, Risk of High Copper Content in Drinking Water. Now, I want you to, folks, what has happened to Europe in terms of migration is sad. Extremely sad. Now, I'm telling you that copper is a metalloestrogen, as in it's a toxic metal that increases estrogenic activity. It stimulates estrogen receptors. What do you think happened to the men of Europe that allowed this to happen? Do you think they could have been poisoned by something that was estrogenic and made them not resist? Maybe. So we have article in Danish. Copper occurs in small amounts in certain food items, but toxic exposures in Northern Europe, that's my place, have occurred only in connection with contaminated drinking water. Only in connection with contaminated drinking water. You guys ever see, what was it? The Dark Knight, where they were going to poison the city's water supply? They would never tell us what they're doing, would they? They put in something that made everybody scared and anxious. What does copper do again? Anxiety is like the biggest symptom. That's weird. Chronic exposure of small children can result in the development of Indian childhood cirrhosis. Copper toxicity is a huge problem in India. This disease has recently been documented in Germany as a result of drinking water contaminated from corrosion of water pipes made of copper. Continued diarrhea in small children can also be due to high copper exposure because your guts hate copper too. Copper is not routinely determined in drinking water in Denmark. They know it's poisoning people, yet they don't test for it. This was 1990. You think anything changed? Let's go to good old Canada. Copper in drinking water. Let me find my highlights. Thanks for the update, Joe. Where's my highlights? Come on. There it is. In hot water systems of building plumbing, a high water temperature, as in over 60 degrees Celsius, in the presence of high flow velocity, so the water's flowing quickly, it's not stagnant, is a factor in erosion corrosion. In a survey of the release of copper corrosion byproducts into the drinking water of high-rise buildings, so major cities, and single-family homes in the Greater Vancouver Regional District, Singh and Mavinich, noted that copper concentrations in water run through cold taps were typically 1/3 of copper concentrations in water run through hot water taps. Hey, even if you have, if you haven't noticed, folks, what type of pipes do they always run in and out of your hot water heater? Go and look at your hot water heater, and I bet you'll see the rest of your house may be, I forget the plastic pipes, what the abbreviation is for the plastic pipes. But if you go and you look at your water heater, going right in and out of your water heater is probably copper. Hot water has 3 times more copper in it than cold water. It's almost like it's planned. It's weird. Let's keep going. So we just talked about Denmark. Let's go to Sweden. Daily intake of copper from drinking water among young children in Sweden. Oh, okay. Joe brought up something good. So one thing you could do, folks, just to reduce your copper exposure from water in your house would be you can turn down, the temperature on your water heater, the max temperature that it goes up to, you could turn that down so that people cannot use as hot a water, which would pull even more copper. So that's something else you could do. You can filter it with the AquaTrue. You can filter it with the AquaYouth. You can use less hot water, and you could turn down the heat on your water heater so that people can't make it as hot. You ladies who take super hot showers, anybody who's doing the super hot stuff, you are not only breathing in way more chlorine gas from the city water than you need to if you're doing city water, you are exposing yourself to way more copper on your skin, and the heat of the water will open up your pores and you will absorb more of it. I have plenty of people who feel terrible after their hot showers. They think it's going to make them feel better, and they don't. I wonder what it could be. It can also just be too much hot water causing a bile dump. But wait, what does bile have in it again? Does bile have lots of copper, as we just went over? Yeah, it does. All these coincidences. Young children. So, of course, we got to gaslight first. An essential trace element that may cause intoxication if intake becomes excessive. But it's essential. Young children are at risk of intoxication because of high consumption of drinking water and, this is a new one, immature copper metabolism. Does this not become humorous after a while? Oh, their copper metabolism is immature. No, they have smaller livers, so they can't handle as much poisoning. It's pretty simple. The lowest concentration of copper in drinking water were found in households with old water pipe systems and those living in detached houses. A large proportion of the young children pay attention to this, satisfied their daily requirement of copper solely from drinking water. About 10% of the children had a copper intake above the level recommended by the World Health Organization. They're probably referring to the tolerable upper limit, which is where they assume you to get disease from that intake. I'm not a big World Health Organization fan, but they're literally saying, the World Health Organization is saying, don't get too much copper because it'll cause problems. 10% of them. So they already said the water alone, drinking tap water, got them their daily requirement of copper. 10% of them were over the tolerable upper limit, which they're implying is, you know what they set that for copper? Liver disease and cirrhosis. Children. Do you think they did anything about it? So let's just go over real quick. What does too much copper in the water do to your guts? Gastrointestinal effects associated with soluble and insoluble copper in drinking water. This is a little bit of a long one. The aim of this study was to determine whether total copper or soluble copper concentration is associated with gastrointestinal signs and symptoms. That's right. If it's good for your gut, it should soothe it, right? 45 healthy adult women living in Santiago, Chile, ingested tap water with 5 milligrams per liter of copper containing different ratios of soluble copper, copper sulfate, and insoluble copper, copper oxide over a 9-week period. Now, I want you to know, I have heard that people in the Copper Revolution group are taking 30 milligrams a day of copper sulfate. That's 6 liters of water. That is literally a gallon and a half of this water. Okay. 8 minutes on the timer. Thanks, Drew. So there are literally people out there taking this amount of copper sulfate over 9 weeks. 3 randomized sequences of the different copper ratios. 0 to 5, 1 to 4, 2 to 3, 3 to 2, and 5 to 0 milligrams per liter were followed. So they gave them different amounts of copper oxide versus copper sulfate. Subjects recorded their water consumption and gastrointestinal symptoms daily on a special form. So they must have been expecting them to get gastrointestinal symptoms, or they wouldn't have done this study, right? Average water consumption was similar among groups. Serum copper levels, ceruloplasmin, and activities of liver enzymes were within normal limits, 9 weeks. No differences were detected between the means of biochemical parameters at the beginning and the end of the study. Remember, folks, problems don't show up in labs until you really have a problem. I learned this the other day. You can lose. So those of you who are like, but my liver enzymes are fine. You can lose, this is in the research, 50% to 80% of your functional liver capacity before your liver enzymes have to go up. Your liver can literally be only functioning 20% to 50%. And then finally, your liver enzymes have to go up. If your liver enzymes ever were bad, you have a liver issue, what that's saying. Some people would show it up earlier. Some people would show it up later. If you're one of those later people, you're in trouble. So if you're not taking care of your liver before you get liver symptoms, like these talking heads on Twitter who think, well, I took this supplement, I took tons of it, and my liver enzymes never went up, so it's absolutely fine. I'm like, oh, my car worked just fine until it broke. The system holds until the system cannot hold anymore. FAFO is another term for that. 20 subjects. So they said liver enzymes and all their blood stuff was fine. Their blood level of copper did not change. You do not have to have signs on the labs to have symptoms. Okay. 20 subjects presented gastrointestinal disturbances at least once during the study. 9 suffered diarrhea with or without abdominal pain and vomiting, and the other 11 subjects reported abdominal pain, nausea, or vomiting. No differences were found in the incidence of abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, regardless of the ratio of copper sulfate to copper oxide. It didn't matter which copper it was. In conclusion, I guess that means copper's toxic then. In conclusion, both copper sulfate, a soluble compound, and copper oxide, an insoluble compound, have comparable effects on the induction of gastrointestinal manifestations, implying that similar levels of ionic copper were present in the stomach. Okay. Let's do the next one. Let's see if this has the highlight. No, it doesn't, so I got to go snag my attachment. And Joe will show the GLASP link at the end for those of you who want to see the highlights. Those will all be in GLASP with the right links, so the highlights are there. Wait, what? Maybe I didn't highlight this. Serum selenium, copper, and zinc concentrations in Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. What do you think we're going to find here? Okay, so here, let's just take a guess. Those of you who have been here a while, this is easy. What do you think they're going to find on selenium? My guess is they're going to find it's low. What are they going to find on copper? They're going to find that it's high. What are they going to find on zinc? They're going to find that it's low. Those of you who have watched my disease live streams know that this pattern is there over and over and over. Serum selenium, copper, and zinc levels were studied in 47 patients with Crohn's disease, 117 patients with ulcerative colitis, and 123 age and sex matched healthy controls. Serum selenium levels were lower, and serum copper levels were higher in men and women with Crohn's disease than in controls. Shocker. Men and women with ulcerative colitis had higher levels of copper and zinc than did controls. Those of you who understand how copper and zinc works in the body, the zinc will rise with the copper protectively until it can't. Once they're deficient enough, it can't. But you guys who have done labs with me or Kelsey or Nathan over the years, we tell you that the copper and zinc will rise up and down together until they dissociate. We've been doing the right things, and then the zinc will go up and the copper will go down. We have to break them out of that. because the copper will rise and fall with the copper. The zinc will rise and fall with the copper until you have depleted the copper enough, and then the copper starts going down and the zinc starts going up because you're not using all the zinc to protect you from the copper. You don't have to use so much because you're less toxic. Selenium is also anti-copper. It's a copper antagonist. Weird that selenium and zinc would be low and copper would be high. Men with pancolitis, this is inflammation of the entire colon, had significantly lower selenium and higher copper levels than men with proctitis. That's an inflammation of the end of the colon. Okay, like a proctologist, right? Proctitis would be inflammation of the end of it. Okay. What a weird pattern. Okay. Well, let's sit on this, Joe. We have some time. I'm going to go to the document, the reference document. Let me see if I can. Yeah, we'll hit on these two, Joe, I think, and then we'll be done. So, foods. I told you you cannot avoid copper-containing foods. So, you can avoid lots of copper in foods, okay? Liver and kidney are the big ones, but do you remember how high the heart was? So people are saying, can I eat heart because it's a muscle? Can I eat intestine? I guess intestine was one of the lower ones, but heart is high in copper too. So if you go back and you look at that list of the organs and how much copper they accumulated, I wouldn't be eating brain. I wouldn't be eating liver. I wouldn't be eating kidney. I wouldn't be eating heart. I wouldn't be eating gallbladder or bile duct either. So organ meats are toxic. If you haven't figured that out yet, welcome to the show. Organ meats are poisoning you. Shellfish. Gosh, what did the Peters love? Boy, they sure love their oysters. They say, eat your oysters to get your zinc. Oysters are massively high in copper. So don't eat the cockroaches of the ocean. Don't eat the bottom feeders. Wow, it'd be weird if filter feeders filter the toxins out of the ocean, and they would collect a lot of copper. And there's also the blue blood thing in some, the blue bloods, the elites, and then also some shellfish have blue blood. It's because their blood runs on copper instead of iron. Chocolate and cocoa. Let's not forget that these are addictive. They're not addictive because of the phenylethylamine. They're addictive because of the copper. Now let's hit on this. Wine and alcohol. Copper sulfate started to be used in vineyards that grow wine grapes. They sprayed copper. I believe it's called the Bordeaux mixture. And I think we'll hit on that. It's a mixture of like limestone and copper sulfate. And they sprayed it on the plants, and then the bugs didn't want to touch the plants because the bugs knew it was poison. Copper fining agents, these are things used in the making of alcohol, and then storing the alcohol in copper-containing equipment, whether it's pipes, whether it's the vats. It all absorbs copper. Like I said, if you've drank out of a copper bottle or a copper cup, you've tasted it. It's literally there. Right after you pour it in there, you can taste the copper. So don't. Nuts and seeds. We kind of talked about this in the food list video. Nuts and seeds. Those of you who are ladies, especially who are very copper toxic, just ditch the nuts and seeds. Just ditch them. They may be low in vitamin A. Generally, the copper thing is going to be a problem. Grains and legumes. People will always challenge our diet and they'll say, well, you're so anti-copper and how are you eating grains and legumes? Because we want the soluble fiber and because there is no such thing as a low copper diet if you are going to eat any plant foods. How do we get rid of the toxic bile with soluble fiber? What does toxic bile have in it? Copper. Soluble fiber helps get rid of toxic bile, which has copper in it. The soluble fiber in beans and legumes, or grains and legumes, whole grains and legumes. I mean, if you're doing white rice, that's a little different animal, but we can help get rid of stuff through the soluble fiber. Now, there's people out there who don't tolerate the amount. They're so copper toxic. They don't tolerate the amount of copper in grains and legumes. Okay, doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. You shouldn't eat them now. Okay, if you wanted to get some soluble fiber, you could use charcoal as a binder. You could use our zeolite as a binder. You could do one of the more processed soluble fibers like apple pectin capsules. You could do our sun fiber. You could do organic psyllium. There's lots of more processed fibers that you can do that don't have any copper in them. Oh yeah, organic foods. Copper sulfate is an organic pesticide. You remember how I've said before that they're going to get everybody? They're going to get everybody, even the organic people. So one of the things that in general would be good is that you peel your fruits and vegetables. Do not eat the outside. There's not more nutrients there. There's more toxins there. Peel everything. Okay, I just wanted to hit on this. This was just a quick list. I wanted to go over the upper limits too. Wait, I need my attachment. So it works. Hold on, Joe. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So the NIH, this is their copper fact sheet for consumers. So I want you to see here, they talk about how much copper do I need? Adults, 900 micrograms, less than a milligram. Oh, but they increase it in pregnancy. That's great. Copper is associated with, I need to research again. It messed up the head shape in mice or rats. Too much copper did. And then, you got to breastfeed. You got to nurse your kid and feed them lots of toxic copper. That'll be helpful. So, what foods provide copper? So this is their list of the highest copper foods. We got liver and shellfish like oysters, nuts such as cashews. Cashews we don't do. Seeds such as sesame and sunflower, and chocolate. Cereals and whole grain products, potatoes, mushrooms. You know how there's a big mushroom fad lately? Everybody's into mushrooms. Avocados. That's another reason to not do avocados. If you're going to do avocados, do them sparingly. Chickpeas and tofu. All right. Copper supplements. So we're kind of onto the copper supplements here, folks. Let's just read this real quick. Copper is available in many multivitamin / multi-mineral supplements, in supplements that contain only copper, and in other dietary supplements. Copper in dietary supplements is often in the form of cupric oxide, cupric sulfate, copper amino acid chelates, and copper gluconate. It is not known whether one form of copper is better than another. Birds of a feather. They're all bad. What happens if I don't get enough copper? Copper deficiency is rare in the United States. Some of the people will be like conspiracy. They'll be like, oh, the government's trying to tell you to not get your copper. I'm just showing you where all this copper is coming into you. Literally multiple sources. No one can seem to show me copper deficiency in people. Can copper be harmful? Yes, copper can be harmful if you get too much. Getting too much copper on a regular basis can cause liver damage, abdominal pain, cramps, nausea. Oh, cramps like menstrual cramps. Ladies, your gynecological and reproductive organ issues, and guys too, your fertility issues are absolutely tied into copper toxicity. Nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting. Of course, they have to add this. Copper toxicity is rare in healthy individuals. They're healthy, so they wouldn't have copper toxicity. However, it can occur in people with Wilson's disease, a rare genetic disorder. It only happens in them. It can also occur if copper it can also occur, so not Wilson's disease. It can also occur if copper-containing water pipes leach copper into drinking water in your home or workplace. So you see, they contradict themselves. Not just Wilson's people get copper toxicity. Okay, healthy people, by definition, don't have copper toxicity, so that's a duh. it does happen in people with Wilson's disease because they are the slowest at detoxing. Thanks, Joe. It can also occur if you drink too much copper in your freaking tap water. And you don't have to have Wilson's disease for that. So why did we not think that it could happen in anybody getting too much copper from any source? The daily upper limits for copper include intake from all sources, foods, beverages, and supplements, and are listed below in micrograms. Adults, this is the tolerable upper limit. This is where the research shows that like you're on the verge of liver disease if you are getting this much. So remember what they were saying, I think it was in Sweden, right? Where they were saying a lot of these kids, 10% of the kids were over the tolerable upper limit. That's what they meant. The Revolution people are taking sometimes 30 milligrams a day. It's not going to end well. For those of you taking lots of copper and thinking that copper is good for you, I'm going to tell you, we have realized over the years that copper toxicity is the slowest toxicity to get rid of because it's in all the foods. You cannot escape it. So, I just wanted to hit on one other thing about the tolerable upper limit. Just to show you that that was the tolerable upper limit and what that means. Didn't I highlight this? I just forget to do the first one. Where was it? Okay, so that chart. That chart said 10,000 milligrams or 10 milligrams a day. This is, 10,000 micrograms, 10 milligrams a day was the limit. They didn't call it the tolerable upper limit. They just called it the limit. The tolerable upper intake level, the UL for adults, is 10 milligrams a day, a value based on protection from liver damage as the critical adverse effect. Do you see how they worded that? They're not trying to gaslight you. Protection from liver damage as the critical adverse effect. So they're saying don't take too much copper so you protect yourself from liver damage because that is the critical adverse effect. You're not, this would be like saying do mammograms to protect yourself from breast cancer. Mammograms don't protect anybody from anything. They don't prevent anything. They simply tell you it's there. You're like, okay, no breast cancer, no breast cancer, no breast cancer, no breast cancer, breast cancer. Oh, glad we caught it early. You didn't prevent anything. It happened, and you're literally putting x-rays into the breast tissue that are known to cause cancer. So it took them a while to get the breast cancer. Shocking. Oh, copper. Well, here's the amount that we think causes liver damage in enough people that we're going to say this is the limit. Well, what about the people who are slower at detoxing? What about them? Man, screw them, right? Everybody's accumulating copper as they age. The problem they try to do with you folks is they will not talk about the accumulation over years, which is what gets you in the long run. They like to talk about short-term toxicity. That's what everybody does with the vitamin D thing. They're like, well, I don't take a mouse dose of vitamin D3 rat poison. So how's it going to hurt me? Because it's fat soluble and it accumulates. I don't know why people cannot understand this. Too many people cannot understand it. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so I already showed you. This will be the last thing. Actually, no, we'll do two things because this is an easy one. Copper-containing dietary supplements. Let me go through these so I can help you folks who are trying to figure out why are you so sick, how you helped or contributed to you getting there. So this link goes to the same copper consumer sheet up there. How do we get copper toxicity? Have you guys ever heard you need to get copper added to your zinc? so you can balance them out. Why don't they add zinc to copper supplements? Why don't you ever hear somebody say, oh, you're taking a copper supplement, you better have zinc to balance that out? Nobody ever says that. Why is it only adding copper to zinc? Why is it only adding the toxic one to the good one? But it's never adding the good one to the toxic one. Do they want you poisoned? I don't know. Obviously, copper supplements of all types, organ meat supplements of all types, all the superfoods that people have been taking. If you see the word superfood, folks, generally avoid it. Why? What is going on? I think my computer's like freezing. Joe, did you lose me? There we go. Now my computer's back on. Okay. So organ meat supplements. Don't eat the trash of the carcass. Superfoods, multivitamins will always have like your daily RDA of copper in them. So you're already into copper toxicity. You got the water, like even if you don't supplement, you've got water and you've got foods. And then you've got other things that may be on here. And then if you supplement any kind of multivitamin, prenatal, multi-mineral, trace mineral blends, it's all got copper in it. How to get toxic in something? Take more of it than you need, or than you. What's the real equation? Take more of it than your body can get rid of. So what are all those studies on mice and humans that are showing it's accumulating in them showing? Even healthy people are not keeping up with their copper detox. Do you understand? Their copper bank account keeps growing because they're not taking money out of it fast enough. It's just math. And now let's go into this in trace elements. In parenteral nutrition. This is like, okay, so tube feeding or IV feeding, like stuff they do in the hospital to try to keep you alive. Okay. You're going to see the evil here. And those of you who have watched somebody pass in the hospitals, you will start to understand that they're not really about saving lives. Trace elements in parenteral nutrition, considerations for the prescribing clinician. This is going to be the last topic. 2017. This is going to be important in a second. 2017. Let me make it a little bigger. There we go. Let me find the first part. We're in 2000. This was in 2017. Despite expert agreement that copper, manganese, and chromium doses be reduced, the FDA has not updated the 1979 guidelines. The FDA has not updated the 1979 guidelines in 40 plus years. For copper, we consider it a toxin. Manganese, we consider it a toxin. And chromium, we consider it a toxin. Weird that those three would be there, that they put in as nutrients. And experts are saying you're hurting people and potentially killing people early by putting too much of this in there. And the FDA is worried about rewriting the food pyramid. Symptoms of chronic toxicity of copper include neurological disorders, renal insufficiency, kidney disease, and cirrhosis. Blazek et al. Performed biopsies on, listen to this, 28 patients on long-term parenteral nutrition with intestinal failure associated liver disease. Wait. So your liver makes bile. Where does the bile go? Into your intestines. Okay. As well as 10 controls with drug-induced cholestatic liver disease. Okay, so we got liver disease, and we know it's bile leaking into the system. So caused by drug, their guts are failing. Wait, didn't we talk about copper, too much copper and not enough zinc? and not enough selenium causing gut symptoms earlier, showed that 89% of parenteral nutrition patients versus all controls had mildly elevated hepatic tissue copper. Their copper in their liver is going up. Wait, are these Wilson's disease people? Do they have some metabolic copper issue? Or are they just not detoxing fast enough? But 29% of the parenteral nutrition patients had levels above 250 micrograms per gram, the diagnostic threshold for Wilson's disease. So see, they're trying to say, oh, wait, sorry, wrong one. They're not Wilson's disease people, but they've got so much copper in their liver because they can't detox it that they fall into the Wilson's disease category. The amount of hepatic copper, liver copper, did not correlate with the duration of parenteral nutrition or serum copper levels, but patients with significant cholestasis, toxic bile paradigm, accumulated more copper than patients with no or minimal cholestasis. Copper accumulation can contribute to and cause liver damage. Oh, thanks, Tao. Thank you about the hair. The hair is actually going very well. I wasn't going to say anything about it today, but you made the comment. It's actually, I made a new discovery about 5 days ago, and I'm still in the experimental phase, but huge changes. Yeah. So thank you for noticing. Current multiple, what was TE? I don't remember TE solution. That might be, I'm not going to look it up. I'm not going to take that time, but it's one of the things. It's either IV or it's tube feeding. I'm guessing it's a tube feeding. Pay attention here, right? Because they said, okay, they said that 10 milligrams a day is the tolerable upper limit. Okay. 10 milligrams a day. And the RDA or the RDI for normal adults was 900 micrograms or 0.9 of a milligram. So the RDA is a little bit less than this. They gave them just barely over the RDA. Just barely over the RDA, 10 times less than the tolerable upper limit for adults. Pay attention. In a study of long-term parenteral nutrition patients, copper at 1 milligram a day resulted in 22.5% of patients having a level above the normal range. So their blood, I'm assuming they mean blood copper, is going up above the normal range. They are now copper toxic. The most recent American Society of Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition, the experts, recommendations call for the daily dose of copper to be lowered to 0.3 to 0.5 milligrams per day. The experts are saying, please stop hurting these people by giving them too much copper. Less than a milligram a day, a third to a half a milligram a day. In a balanced study in parenteral nutrition patients, 0.15 milligrams a day appeared to be an optimal dose for patients with cholestasis because they can't get rid of it. And in patients with diarrhea, 0.4, 0.5 milligrams per day appeared to maintain balance. So they're saying, oh, they're pooping out their copper. They need it. Okay, right. But wait, too much copper in the guts caused diarrhea. That's interesting. Okay, so they're poisoning your family and loved ones in the hospital if they're on tube feeding or IV nutrition. So if you're going out there and you're one of those fancy health types who is going out and getting IVs with copper in it, a multi-mineral IV, oh, you're in trouble. So that's what I'm going to go over today. So we're going to save the other topics for next time. Joe, you can take that down. Okay, I'm going to try to keep my time under control today. Joe, how much time do we have? Wait, Joe, you wanted me to screenshot what? Which screen? The last one. You mean my list or the study, the paper? Oh, so yeah, Joe wanted you guys to. Oh, wait, where'd it go? I just changed the okay, let me find it again. There it is. So for those of you who want to screenshot something here about how they're poisoning people, maybe your friends and loved ones in the hospital, there's not much you can do other than get them out of the hospital. And that's up to you. That's something I can't help you with. But yeah, they're giving them too much copper. They're giving them too much manganese. They're giving them too much chromium. Both copper and manganese in the liver can cause cirrhosis and cholestasis. It's all in the research. So anyway, if you want a screenshot of this, you can get it. Oh, thanks. Eliza was saying the hair is looking good. Thank you. It was funny because somebody, I had a pretty popular post on Twitter the other day, and some people were like, "Why should I listen to you? Your hair's not all totally there." And I'm like, okay, I literally may have figured out the way for people to regrow lost hair. And I'm saying this within the last 4 days. Like, it's outrageous. So the funny thing is people will be like, "Well, why aren't you perfect yet?" And I go, God didn't make me perfect so that I could solve problems. I'm most interested in the problems and the challenges and the issues that I have. Right? Those are the things that interest us the most. They bother us on a daily basis. So not that I made a big deal out of my hair. I actually started doing it because I don't know. I felt like doing it. And Kelsey was like, "Sure, why not? Who cares? If you want to fool around with it, go ahead." And I thought, okay, well, it's a new thing to work on. And so I did. And we're apparently making progress. So thank you all for noticing. And yeah, no, don't ask me what it is. I'm only 4 days in. I'm not telling anybody. So, but yeah, the changes are, to see changes in 4 days, outrageous. So some of my biggest haters, one of them is as bald as an egg, which is kind of humorous. Those of you out there who are OGs will know who that is. Sad little British guy. So, okay, let me so Archon of J-Day, are you still here? He said, Dan Purser said there's a problem with molybdenum anemia and fibro because it contributes to a buildup of copper. Well, molybdenum deficiency would contribute to a buildup of copper. For those of you who don't know, like the three big, what I call the big minerals, even though they're technically trace minerals, zinc, molybdenum, and selenium, those are keystone minerals. That's why they're there. They all help with copper. They're all necessary for your detox pathways. Now, not everybody can handle the dose in keystone minerals. Some people it's too much for, especially at the start when they're really toxic. Some people love it. And some people who are working with our facilitators, we will consider increasing them because we're watching them. So, okay. Let me look at the super chat. But anyway, yeah. So molybdenum, I mean, hydrogen sulfide, you need molybdenum to process sulfur, sulfites, sulfite oxidase. You need it to process xanthines, methyl xanthines. You need it to process, it's part of ALDH, the ALDH pathway, which helps detox aldehydes. And then it's also part of the copper detox process. So molybdenum is really important. And most people here, before they came here at least, or if you're new here, people will be like, molybdenum, what? I never heard of that. And I go, yeah, that's part of why so many people are sick. And molybdenum is going down in the foods. It used to be considered to be the highest in beans. And I'm telling you, I forget how many years ago it was, maybe 8 years ago, maybe 10, a cup of beans a day was enough to keep people's molybdenum levels on a hair test good. That doesn't work anymore. Used to work, doesn't work anymore. 10 Brazil nuts a day used to bring people's selenium levels up into range. It doesn't work anymore. There's less minerals in the food. So even those people who want to do it food-based, this is the reality, folks. You want to avoid supplements? The reality is if you're already deficient, you're already behind the 8 ball, you refuse to take supplements, the foods are deficient, you want to detox, which means you need even more minerals coming in. And supplements aren't an option for you, but food can't do it. I don't know how you plan on fixing that issue. Now, avoiding the toxins and letting your body detox over time will reduce your mineral and niacin and stuff like that need. As you get better, as you're less toxic, you will not need as much to fight against the toxic things. That's true. But if you were deficient the whole time, I don't know how you're ever going to get over that hump. If you literally physiologically need help and your physiology doesn't care what your philosophy is, and you're listening to these talking heads on the internet who are like, all supplements are bad. And then, like I saw a guy yesterday on Twitter, he had a bunch of raw milk and I forget what other raw stuff he had. He had a bunch of raw food down in South America. Okay. You got food poisoning. Pretty bad. What do I do? Well, he's like very anti-supplement. So then you start going, I don't know. You don't want to go to the hospital. You don't want pharmaceuticals. You don't want supplements. I don't know what you're going to do. Pray? I guess, people paint themselves into corners. This is what they want you to do. They're paying both sides. They know a bunch of people are going to choose against pharma, but they're going to pay people to badmouth pharma. They always pay both sides. I forget who's the guy he was the old KGB guy who talked about their strategies to ruin America from within. There's a great video on it, but he talked about how they paid both sides to go against each other. So, and they made sure to keep everybody confused. So now we have the whole anti-supplement everything group. And they say stuff like, oh, when you get the flu, just go home and rest and drink spring water. That's literally their advice. If you get the flu, just go home and drink spring water. Okay. And they're going to paint you into a corner where all of a sudden you're going, I'm sick. I need to do something. But I listen to all these people. It's kind of, and then I don't know what to do. I have nothing left to do. This is exactly like when people take too many people's advice on what they can't eat. And like I talked about in the diet video last time, they go to the grocery store and they're like, I literally cannot eat anything. There's nothing here I can eat. You're kind of stuck because starvation will get you for sure. This is why I say there's no such thing as a no copper diet. There's no such thing as a low vitamin A diet. We can try to, what we do, the 3 pillars of our approach. We reduce and minimize and eliminate the sources of toxicity coming in as best as we can. We facilitate the removal of stored toxins from within us, like, oh, I don't know, like all that copper we just talked about getting stored in tissues today. Then we get the body the nutrients it needs so that it can both protect us and run the detox systems. This is the paradigm of getting you healthy again. Do different people need different amounts of different things? Sure. Can some people not take any supplements at the start because they're so toxic and it stirs everything up? Sure. Can some people seem to take more and not have issues? Well, we're not big fans of mega dosing. So if you're a mega doser out there, you're playing your own game. Don't come and ever blame me for your mega dosing problems. There were people who used to be in the program who mega dosed everything and caused themselves problems. And I told them multiple times, I think you should stop doing that. It's going to bite you in the butt. And now they're mad at us because they're overdosing themselves on everything they can possibly find because they think they're going to find the answer there. The diet is the most important thing, folks. Always has been. Do I sell supplements? Yeah, I sell the ones that I think are going to be helpful because most supplements out there that are useful, which is very few, are garbage and full of garbage. So I thought, hey, what if I make clean stuff of the minimal things that people need? And then we have Nutrition Detective today. So we got a super chat here. Oh, Joe was saying, Joe, I don't remember. If somebody else remembers the name of the guy who Joe put up like 5 names, and I'm like, I don't remember the Yuri Bezmenov. Okay. I think that's right. I think you're right, Jackie. I think that's the name. I do remember that. Yuri Bezmenov. And he was talking about how this is specifically Vladimir Putin did the thing where he pays both sides. He pays people on both sides to go against each other. So then they'll do things to confuse people so you can never pick a side. They want you off balance, because the more people are off balance and they cannot unite in a cause, the less they have a threat from us. So think of how many splinter groups in America there are now, and how they try to get people to, they'll try to get, as an example, within Christianity, you get people who disagree on what one verse of the Bible means, and then they're like, I can't talk to you anymore. You're of the devil. And they'll totally disconnect because of a different interpretation. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to splinter everybody into basically single groups, so you cannot unite on a topic. Then you can't form any kind of resistance. Even though there's the people out there who talk about resistance. Those are the most annoying people out there. So, Joe gave me 8 minutes left. Let's see. Oh, the super chat. Time is always ready. What is my take on urticaria and angioedema? I don't know how long you've been here. Time is always ready, but our take on it is it's a liver issue. Liver issues spill over into kidney issues. Kidney issues spill over into skin issues. Urticaria, or itching, is a huge symptom of cholestasis, literally leaking toxic bile back into the blood. So it goes like this. Well, you may want to watch the Toxic Bile Paradigm trilogy. It's episodes 231 to 233, and we go over it there. But the simple thing is this. The liver makes bile. Bile is how the liver gets rid of toxicity mainly. So therefore, bile is the most toxic fluid in the human body. By definition, it's how the liver gets rid of all its toxic waste. What is supposed to happen to that bile is it's supposed to go in, mix with your food, kind of be diluted by the food so it's not as toxic, and you poop out some of it each day. So each time you poop out some of it. And the rest of it you reabsorb. Well, if you get leaks in that system, which is documented in the literature, that's what cholestasis is. It's literally leaking toxic bile into your bloodstream. So then the liver has now become toxic, and it's leaking toxic bile into the system. That toxic bile goes in the blood and then goes and hits what? The kidneys. So then it's damaging the kidneys. And then if the liver and the kidneys cannot handle the toxicity of the bile, then the blood is going to the skin, and the toxins come out of the skin, and they literally irritate the skin on its way out and while it sits there. And that's your skin disease. So the priority in terms of detox priority, or detox capacity, I should say, liver's first, kidneys second, skin is third. So if we're talking about urticaria and angioedema, that's what I was talking to. I posted on Twitter the other day. Somebody said that they were calling irritable bowel syndrome was just a name that doctors made up for, we don't know what's causing this. And I said, I don't have to name any gut disease to help it, because it's all rooted in one thing. Where people, the old saying that I learned in naturopathic school, all disease starts in the gut. All disease starts in the gut. And I used to kind of believe that. And I was kind of going, okay, the 5-year-old question, all disease starts in the gut. And then I would go, the 5-year-old question, why? Why does all disease start in the gut? Like a 5-year-old asking an adult a question. Okay. And then The answers to that were unsatisfactory. Well, within toxic bile theory or toxic bile paradigm, sorry, you don't get symptoms generally from your liver. So nobody would ever say, on observing people from the outside, they would never observe them and go, oh, it's obviously your liver, because they can't see the manifestations of the liver's function. I mean, you kind of can. Dana White posted, somebody posted Dana White on Twitter the other day as like talking about what he did for health. He is beet red. Just like all these health experts. If you guys are looking at health experts on the internet and they are beet red, their liver is toast. Their liver is absolutely toast. Joe put up my Twitter if you guys want to follow me there. But yeah, so nobody can really see the liver functioning, right? But what does the liver dump that is toxic? It dumps toxic bile. Where's the first place? Joe's running through those links. Where's the first place that the toxic bile hits? It hits your gut. So all disease starts in the gut. The gut is the first place that is exposed significantly to the toxic bile. Toxic bile causes, so for those of you who think all disease is caused by leaky gut is caused by toxic bile. And for those of you who think that the gut biome causes everything, the bile literally changes your gut biome. Your gut biome changes the bile, and your bile changes the gut biome. So all of these things where people think they've come up with this huge idea of figuring it all out, if they aren't talking about the bile and not just about like, oh, we're going to make your bile flow better, it's too sludgy, or, oh, your bile is just not a good quality. No, it's literally the toxicity in the bile. Just like you saw in the copper, why would bile be so high? I mean, why would copper be so high in the bile unless the body wanted to get rid of it? When we know that copper irritates the gut. Wait, copper irritates the gut. The liver puts lots of copper into the bile, and then the bile goes into the gut, and copper irritates the gut, and then you get gut problems. Wow. Right? So Joe's been running all the links, so you guys can check out those links. I'll put them down in the bottom. Joe, no more. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. So I'm just gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna keep it under 2 hours. We're gonna do part 2 next week. So you guys all show up next week for part 2. It'll be up mounted here, for everybody to see forever. This was episode 237. Where we went over the sources of copper toxicity and the evidence that it absolutely accumulates in people and is part of your disease. Okay? I will see you all next time. Bye now.